Horror has always been one of the best genres for queer storytelling. It's emotional, intense, unpredictable, and sometimes beautifully strange. And when lesbian characters are placed at the center of these dark stories, the result can be unforgettable. From supernatural curses and vampires to psychological thrillers and survival horror, these movies combine fear, tension, romance, and suspense in ways that keep you hooked from beginning to end. So, if you're looking for spooky Sapphic movies for Halloween night, or just craving dark queer stories with strong lesbian characters, here are 14 lesbian horror and thriller films you should definitely add to your watch list. 1. Fear Street Trilogy, 2021. This horror trilogy follows Dina and Sam, a lesbian couple trying to survive a deadly curse connected to their town's dark history. Across 3 different timelines, the movies mix slasher horror, supernatural mystery, and emotional romance surprisingly well. What makes Fear Street stand out is that the lesbian relationship isn't treated like a side story. It's the emotional heart of the entire trilogy. The chemistry, the tension, and the emotional moments all feel real while the horror keeps getting more brutal and intense. If you love creepy small-town mysteries, masked killers, and Halloween vibes mixed with queer romance, this trilogy is a must-watch. 2. Carmilla, 2019. Based on the classic Gothic vampire story that inspired Dracula, this movie tells the story of Laura, a lonely young woman who becomes fascinated by the mysterious Carmilla. The film focuses more on atmosphere and emotional tension than jump scares, creating a dark, seductive vibe that feels perfect for a rainy Halloween night. The chemistry between the 2 leads is strong, and the Gothic visuals make everything feel haunting and dreamlike. If you enjoy vampire stories with slow-burning lesbian romance, Carmilla is definitely worth watching. The Perfection, 2018. This psychological horror film starts as a story about 2 talented musicians, but quickly turns into something completely disturbing and unpredictable. Charlotte reconnects with Elizabeth, the new star student at her former music school, and what begins as admiration slowly becomes obsession, manipulation, and pure chaos. Every time you think you understand the story, the movie throws another shocking twist at you. The body horror scenes are brutal, the suspense is intense, and the lesbian tension between the characters keeps everything emotionally charged from start to finish. 4. What Keeps You Alive, 2018. A romantic anniversary trip turns into a nightmare when Jules realizes her wife Jackie is hiding terrifying secrets. This movie works so well because it feels grounded and realistic. The relationship between the couple feels believable, which makes the betrayal and danger even more disturbing. Once the horror begins, the tension barely slows down. The isolated cabin setting, emotional manipulation, and survival elements make this one of the most underrated lesbian thrillers out there. 5. Thelma, 2017. Thelma follows a shy religious college student who begins experiencing strange supernatural abilities after falling in love with another woman. The movie beautifully combines horror with themes of repression, sexuality, guilt, and self-discovery. Instead of relying on cheap scares, it builds a quiet and unsettling atmosphere that slowly pulls you in. Visually stunning and emotionally powerful, Thelma feels like a supernatural coming-of-age story mixed with psychological horror. 6. Raw, 2016. After a bizarre hazing ritual at veterinary school, a strict vegetarian suddenly develops a disturbing hunger for human flesh. Raw is disturbing, emotional, and impossible to forget. While it's not fully centered on lesbian romance, the movie explores female desire, identity, and obsession in very intense ways. The body horror is graphic, the emotions feel raw and uncomfortable, and the entire movie slowly becomes more chaotic and unsettling as it goes on. Definitely not for weak stomachs. 7. Lyle, 2014. Often called a lesbian version of Rosemary's Baby, this psychological horror film follows Leah, a grieving mother who becomes increasingly paranoid about the people living in her apartment building. The movie focuses heavily on isolation, grief, and emotional breakdown rather than gore or violence. The slow tension keeps building until everything starts feeling deeply unsettling. It's a quieter horror movie, but the creepy atmosphere stays with you long after it ends. This horror comedy follows a group of high school cheerleaders who return from the dead with supernatural powers after a tragic accident. The movie mixes dark humor, revenge, witchcraft, and queer relationships into one chaotic and entertaining story. It doesn't take itself too seriously, which actually makes it a fun Halloween watch. If you want something spooky but still playful and entertaining, this is a great pick. Jennifer's Body, 2009. After a failed ritual sacrifice, Jennifer becomes possessed and starts feeding on boys from her high school. What really made this movie become a cult classic is the complicated relationship between Jennifer and her best friend Needy. There's jealousy, attraction, obsession, and emotional chaos underneath all the horror. The film combines comedy, gore, and queer tension perfectly, and over the years it has become one of the most loved feminist horror films ever made. 10. High Tension, 2003. This French horror film follows Marie and Alex during a horrifying home invasion that quickly turns into a brutal nightmare. The movie is extremely violent, intense, and stressful in the best way possible. The lesbian themes slowly become more important as the story moves toward its shocking ending. If you love slasher movies with non-stop tension and brutal horror scenes, this movie absolutely delivers. 11. Mulholland Drive, 2001. David Lynch's surreal psychological thriller follows Betty, an aspiring actress who becomes deeply connected to an amnesiac woman named Rita. This isn't traditional horror, but the movie creates such a strange and disturbing atmosphere that it often feels terrifying. The relationship between the two women becomes the emotional center of the story as reality slowly begins to break apart. Confusing, emotional, haunting, and unforgettable. 12. Heavenly Creatures, 1994. Based on a true story, this film follows two teenage girls whose intense emotional connection slowly becomes dangerous and obsessive. The movie explores fantasy, isolation, desire, and psychological instability in a very emotional way. Kate Winslet and Melanie Lynskey give incredible performances, making the friendship and attraction between the girls feel deeply real. It's not full horror, but its dark psychological themes make it perfect for viewers who enjoy emotional thrillers. The Hunger, 1983. This stylish vampire classic stars Catherine Deneuve as an immortal vampire who becomes attracted to a female doctor played by Susan Sarandon. The movie is dark, seductive, and visually beautiful. Instead of relying on jump scares, it creates tension through mood, desire, and gothic atmosphere. It also contains one of the most iconic lesbian vampire scenes in horror history, which helped make it a cult favorite among queer audiences. Bodies, 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 2022. A group of wealthy young friends gather for a hurricane party that quickly turns deadly when someone starts killing them one by one. This movie blends horror, comedy, and social satire while featuring queer relationships naturally within the story. The characters are messy, dramatic, and hilarious, which makes the chaos even more entertaining. If you enjoy modern horror movies with dark humor, tension, and toxic friendship drama, this one is incredibly fun.
So fucking obvious if I were the killer.
David.
More.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this list, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your favorite lesbian horror movie below. And if you want more Sapphic movie and series recommendations, stay tuned for the next video.